I think Gordon Brown,
Yeah.
I know Gordon Brown would have been the absolute best Prime Minister for this country. I voted for Nick Clegg that year because
In 2010.
I just didn't really know the difference between Gordon Brown and Tony Blair. But I felt so strongly about it the other day. I actually started researching him. I was just, I wonder what happened to Gordon Brown, because I've got a son who was born and he benefits from the what did he do? He done these what do you call them? Not tax credits. That was Gordon Brown. But he's actually on record. He is the best Chancellor we've ever had in this country, and it's not just me saying that. As in, he held the country down for those years. So he's on record as being the best ever Chancellor, and he would have made absolutely the best ever Prime Minister. But I was so furious with Tony Blair. I didn't know the difference between the two of them. So I've gone and voted for that Nick Clegg, who gave my vote to the Tories. And I'm telling you, it's depressed me ever since. When I think of politics, I just shut off from all of it. I didn't want nothing to do with any of it. Because what Nick
You've got to re-engage, Kay. You've got to re-engage this time around.
I'll tell you what, if I put Gordon Brown back in charge of the Labour Party, and I will vote tomorrow. Sorry, it's the
what you should look up, Kay.
Investment.
Kay, this week, that Gordon Brown joined forces with John Major. And they were talking about how the Cabinet Office, which fundamentally is the department, if you like, that runs government, how that should change and how bad it has become over the last 10 years. Have a look, search it on the internet, and you'll see the speeches that they've made. So that was John Major and Gordon Brown joining forces this week.
Carol, there was some investment when the banks went to bail out the banks, and he gave it to the public as opposed to he sorted out the banks, but he also had the children and he gave them the child trust funds. That's what it is, the child trust fund. And I mean, we're going to benefit from that very shortly because our children are coming from age. So he put things in place that we are still benefiting from now. He was absolutely the best, and it's a big regret of mine, really big.
Well, it wasn't all your fault, Kay. But let me tell you that. But also Gordon Brown.
He was amazing. He was a very, very good man.
A lot of people saying Gordon Brown, and of course, in 2008, 2007, 2008, he suffered, obviously, in popularity because of the global financial crisis. And people held him partly responsible for that, and so on. So, and of course, that had a huge financial drag on the whole country after that, on the world, but also, obviously, on this country. And so he was He was very unlucky with that, I think, Kay.
I'm going to wind the clock right back.
Okay.
And this isn't my natural voting. I'm definitely not conservative, but I'm not particularly anywhere. I've felt politically homeless for many years. But the last person I can think of where I think, I think you were doing the right job for this country was Gordon Brown.
And why is that?
Because actually he didn't feel like he was serving himself. He felt like he was serving the country, that he wasn't exciting. He wasn't fun, in inverted commas.
No, he definitely wasn't that.
No, and he wasn't a reality show contestant. Penny Mordaunt, stand up and fight. I tell you what, Penny, why don't we stand up and vote? Why don't we just vote? Because enough already. We just need to, Rishi Sunak will say, don't quote me on his words about integrity. I mean, he'll say it's what the people want. Really? How does he know? He hasn't asked the people what they want.
Well, every time all the polling, and there are a lot of polling companies, ask people what they want, it's a general election. And the result of the general election, there was appalling polling for the Tories this week. I mean, one was slightly an outlier, put them at coming back with less than 100 members of Parliament, but the average is around about 150. I mean, they are, like you say, stand up and vote, call a general election, but he's said no to one on May the 2nd. What was your thoughts when he said that?
I just thought, really, can I keep going like this? Because actually, we have a family WhatsApp group. It's the outliers, the political outliers of the family, and it's called, we set it up, I think, a couple of years ago, and the group is called You Couldn't Make It Up.
Yeah.
And every single day, it's not once a week, somebody puts something in, it's usually me actually. I'll put in quite a lot of your content, in fact, Carol.
Oh, do you, Michelle?
I do a screen grab it. I go, there she is. She's right. But the reality is, you couldn't make it up every single day.
Yeah.
Politics didn't used to be like this.
Beatrice says Gordon Brown was the last Prime Minister who genuinely worked for the good of the nation. Lots of Gordon Brown fans, I would say, ringing in today. He genuinely cares about tackling child poverty, as his continuing work shows.
For me, like a lot of other people have been saying, there was the Labour years for me. I had a young family. I was able to get help with childcare. We had Sure Start. We got the Child Trust Fund.
Yeah.
It was like really investments for the future. We had the EMA for people going to college. It just felt like at that time society was wanting to prepare the young people for the future.
Yeah.
And that just seems to have disappeared. Also, in terms of like social cohesiveness, Sure Start brought people. I lived in an area that was like really mixed, quite affluent people, poorer people, and Sure Start was a place where communities of different, backgrounds and cultures can just mix and bond over their children. And taking that away, I think, has helped contributed towards the wider, societal problems that we've been experiencing these days, where they moan about integration, but they took away the means in some cases.
I think we should do a whole hour about Sure Start, because so many people ring in about it.
I think we could, because my reflections on it was so positive.
Yeah.
And I think for me, when I realised that they didn't work for me, is when things went drastically wrong, but nothing happened. Like Chris Grayling, my partner, works for the probation service.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I kind of knew what happened with all the changes that he implemented and hiving it off, splitting it into two. One part went private. They had to reverse it all because it was a disaster.
Yeah.
And he just got to walk away and carry on. They just go to another department and then carry on their nonsense. It's just one after the other. Dominic Raab, what happened with that boat that they did for Brexit, and it was a pizza delivery service?
It just goes on and on.
Now, dare I say it, I feel ashamed of being a public servant.
Oh,
and I'm
Anita,
looking to leave as soon as possible. I know.
Seriously? Why is that? So you felt it was better under Blair and Brown?
I felt it was better under Labour.
Yeah.
They didn't get everything right, to be fair.
Yeah.
But it felt that they genuinely cared. I think that's probably where it's gone just wrong for me. Felt that they cared for the future, they cared for the now. In terms of the current government, I think this, for me, again, changes that happen shouldn't be so noticed at the ground level as much and as often as it has now. Strategic decisions should take time to be embedded, and therefore the change shouldn't seem as significant, in my opinion, as they currently do. You just don't know what's happening one day from the next. And that is both as a citizen, but also as a public servant. And therefore, I feel that I am letting the country down, but because I've been so loyal to public service. I don't know if that makes sense, Carol, but it just seems I'm letting people down because I feel the government is not making the decisions that are necessarily for the benefit of the wider public.